All right, welcome to it, everybody. In the Pain Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. I just wrapped up the Nuggets post game show over on the network. I was filling in for Berto this evening. He's handling Avs duties. I've got this game on in here as well. So if you'd like to, you know, comment on the Avs game tonight, feel free to do so. I'll be talking about that a little bit as well. Obviously, Raj and Springer will have your full Avs post-game show here on our digital platforms as well, about 30 or so minutes after that contest. But the Nuggets fall to the Pelicans tonight. A lot of storylines kind of going into this game. So the Nuggets obviously come into this one on a 5-game win streak and playing really good basketball. They had 4 days off. They beat the Mavericks on Sunday, but the storylines coming into tonight were some pretty big ones. Obviously, Nikola Jokic did not travel with the team. He stayed back in Denver for personal reasons. I know a lot of people are speculating on what's going on. All I can say is nothing's wrong with Nikola Jokic. Everything's good. It's a family deal. I'm sure in the next couple of days you'll understand why, if you can catch my drift. I'll just say that Nikola Jokic's parents are in town for a specific event. So, yeah, that's that. You can pretty much guess what's going on there with the Jokic family. So it's good news. Nothing wrong with Joker. You know, I was thinking about this when we found out he wasn't going to be playing tonight. I like it. I mean, I don't. Obviously, I want Nikola Jokic playing. But my point being, the Nuggets just had a 4-day break. So if you count today as 5, tomorrow as 6, for Joker, he's getting nearly a week off early on in the season. I mean, this is really, for Nikola Jokic, it's like a mini all-star break, except he never gets breaks during the all-star break because he's always an all-star. So it sucks to get the loss tonight. They definitely would have won this game with Nikola Jokic in there, but it is what it is. Life happens. So, and then Coach Malone, I didn't really know this until just before the game, or at least our pregame show started, but he didn't travel with the team as well because his daughters are in the state volleyball championship, I believe. So no Coach Malone there tonight. David Adelman took over head coaching duties for this evening. And, you know, Adelman's a great coach. He's going to be a head coach, I would assume, sooner rather than later in this league. And if you remember back to last year, actually, David Adelman filled in for head coaching duties for Michael Malone after, unfortunately, Coach Malone's father passed away. So, you know, he has experience leading this team from the bench. The Nuggets they couldn't score enough tonight. I mean, they scored 94 points. Michael Porter Jr. was outstanding in the first half. He had 20 points at halftime. But again, something I've harped on for years now when it comes to MPJ, he tends to have peaks and valleys way, way too much. And I've constantly said I want to see that get evened out a little bit more because he has 20 points in the first half, follows that up with only 4 points in the second half. In games like these where you're missing your best player, you're missing your head coach, you're missing Aaron Gordon still, who we don't know exactly when he's going to be back. These are the types of games where Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray really need to take over. And to MPJ's credit, he was doing that in the first half. But you can't disappear in the second half like he did tonight. 4 points in the second half when the Nuggets desperately needed some offensive output. I mean, that third quarter, they scored 18 points after scoring 22 in the first, 32 in the second, and 22 in the fourth. No Zion for the Pelicans. He's out indefinitely with a hamstring issue. So what's that going to look like moving forward for the Pelicans? You know, just a couple of years ago, this was thought of as like a legit playoff contending type team. They've got a lot of talent. I mean, Zion, Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, but they also had a lot of guys out tonight. No Zion, no Jose Alvarado, who has killed the Nuggets over the last couple of years. No CJ McCollum, no Herb Jones, they were missing a lot of their studs tonight as well. So, and after 4 days off, you would expect the Nuggets to come in here with a lot of energy, and it just wasn't the case tonight. So Jamal Murray, I kind of wanted to dig into his performance tonight just a little bit. I thought in that Dallas game, he looked like he was moving really well. And with 4 days off, I was expecting Jamal to come in here and have a really big night. I mean, he played 43 minutes, so I'll give him credit there. He played, damn near the entire game. But his shooting was off tonight. He was 6 of 16 from the field, just 2 of 8 from beyond the arc. Finished with 16 points. Did have 8 assists and 6 rebounds, which I like, and a couple of steals. I was thinking about this during the game. Isn't it amazing how much different Jamal Murray looks as a basketball player when Nikola Jokic is off the floor? I love Jamal Murray as a basketball player. I really do. But I got to be honest with you. There's a reason he's never been an all-star. And it's because I don't believe that Jamal can really carry a team without a Nikola Jokic-like player on the floor with him. And I felt that way for a couple years. Now, don't get me wrong. Jamal Murray is still a very, very valuable piece to this team. He has the ability, like we've seen over the years, to absolutely go nuclear in the playoffs, which is one of the reasons I think so many fans are so endeared towards Jamal. But it definitely is very obvious his limitations without Nikola Jokic. And that's kind of what I took away from tonight's game. He just wasn't moving very well. The offense seemed like they were a step behind the whole night. They were not in sync at all. And I mean, I get it. I do, because you take Nikola Jokic out of your lineup and the whole offense changes because he runs that offense. So I get it. But they did have 4 days to prep and I don't know how long they knew Joker wasn't going to be traveling with the team. So who knows how many days they had to practice without him. But no Joker tonight. We've been talking about when does Dario Saric play again, or does he play again this year for the Nuggets? Well, he got the start tonight. And to be perfectly honest with you, I thought Dario played fine. I really did. The only thing I didn't like about Dario's game tonight was he did force up a few more three-pointers than I would have liked. He did take 5 3-pointers, hit one of them. But the Nuggets were more effective when he was in the game. I mean, there's no question about it. In fact, listen to this. So at halftime, the Nuggets were plus 10 with Saric in the game. Okay? With Zeke Najian, they were minus 15. It's a 25-point swing right there. So, and then Dario Saric finishes the game as a plus 12. So he was effective. He led the team in plus minus, by far. I mean, the next best plus minus was Vlatko Čančar. Good to see him get into the game tonight. He played 8 minutes. He was a plus 1, and Michael Porter Jr. was a plus 1. So take that for what you will, but Dario Saric was very effective in tonight's game. I mean, there's no question about it. I liked what I saw from him. It's encouraging. The Nuggets are going to need him. In fact, Coach Malone at shoot around yesterday morning talked about how it's kind of funny because at the time they didn't realize that, I guess, Joker wasn't going to be playing, because Michael said, I'm not going to change the lineup while we're on a hot streak coming in to this game, winners of 5 straight. Well, turns out Joker's not playing, so Dario, you got to play. And he did credit Dario for staying positive, continuing to work hard, being a good teammate, all of those things. That's a good sign. That means that he's a good locker room type of guy, professional NBA player. And I thought he came in and did a fine job tonight. I really did. I mean, again, 4 of 9 from the field overall, 1 of 5 from 3, had 8 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, and 9 points, and again was a plus 12. So encouraging, a slightly encouraging performance from Dario Saric, just from the standpoint of Can he be this team's reliable backup big? Can he? That's all you need from Dario Saric when Nikola Jokic is obviously starting. Now, Dario's not going to get 34 minutes if Nikola Jokic is playing in a basketball game, which is what he got tonight. I understand that. And, his numbers in tonight's game are going to be a little bit inflated because of his high usage rate. But just the stat line alone, like that's what I'm looking for from the backup five for the Denver Nuggets. 4 of 9, hit a 3, grab some rebounds, dish the rock 5 times, which he did tonight. Pour in 9 to 12 points a game. That's all they need from the backup 5. They don't need Dario Saric to come in and average 16 points a game. That's just not going to happen, and they don't need him to do that. They need him to do what he did tonight, obviously just with less minutes. So again, those will be his numbers tonight are a tad inflated because he did play more minutes than he normally would when Nikola Jokic is in the game. But I thought he looked well out there. I thought he ran the offense from the center position as best he could. And he was like the only paint presence the Nuggets had tonight. They had no paint presence without Dario Saric on the floor at all. It was mostly perimeter stuff tonight. And, I don't know if Joker's going to be playing on Sunday in Memphis, but we'll see. But it was good to see Dario get in there and produce. Compared to how he looked in the first couple of games, he looked much better tonight. So that was really encouraging to see. All right, let's see. Feel free to comment in your thoughts on the show. Let's see here. Tony's got a thought. Tony, everybody knows Nuggets without Joker is the Washington Generals. Tony, I'm sure that's a bit of sarcasm, but there is a little bit of truth in that. Like, they're obviously not the Washington Generals, but I would say it's more of a compliment to Joker than anything because, like I was talking about earlier, Jamal Murray, as much as I hate to say this because I'm rooting for the guy and I want him to be a great player because I want to see this team win basketball games, it's really telling when Nikola Jokic is not in there, just sort of what limitations Jamal has as far as like being able to score the basketball at a high rate, an efficient rate without Joker on the floor. I have not seen him able to do that, at least this season. I don't think really a whole lot last season, maybe a little bit more in their championship year. But they need Jamal to be able to score the basketball when Nikola Jokic is not on the floor. I mean, it's just plain and simple. Now, obviously, again, the fact that they had like no paint presence tonight was a big issue, and it was all perimeter. Jamal was getting double teamed constantly. So I do understand in that sense why Jamal struggled shooting the basketball tonight. Again, he was 6 for 16 shooting from the field, but that's the problem with not having a reliable backup big that you can count on, that knows the offense, that can run the offense like Joker does. I mean, not to the degree Joker does, but at least make it functional. And again, I thought Dario did that the best he could tonight. But this offense, let's just be honest, this offense runs entirely through Nikola Jokic. There's a reason the Nuggets are so bad when he's off the floor, even when he's playing in games, why the bench constantly gives up leads that the starting 5 builds up, because the offense runs through this team, or runs through Jokic for this team. And we kind of saw that tonight. Now, there have been stretches, I think it was it last year or 2 years ago, where like Joker missed like 3 games in a row, which he rarely does. And I remember in the first game, the offense struggled mightily. The coaching staff, credit to them, made some adjustments, and they were able to figure out ways to score the basketball in different ways. But without Nikola Jokic, it's really telling how limited this offense is without him in there. So God forbid, knocking on wood, so don't blame me if something happens, but God forbid something happens to Joker, man, would it be tough for this team to score 100 points a night. I mean, really, like that's how much value Nikola Jokic is bringing to this team. And more so than ever, by the way, Joker's bringing value to the Nuggets. He's had the best 10-game stretch of any player in NBA history to start the season. I mean, his numbers are just absolutely ridiculous. I saw a graphic on ESPN, his numbers, points per game, rebounds per game, assists per game versus all-time greats. I think it was Shaq, Tim Duncan, and Chris Paul. Their highest points per game for Shaq, highest rebounds per game for Tim Duncan, and highest assists per game for Chris Paul. Joker was beating all of them. Their career best, his stats through the first 10 games of the year. So again, I know this is kind of obvious, but we see it so often from Joker that it takes a game like this to really kind of just reinforce, like, wow, like he is everything to this team. So, and that's kind of what we saw tonight. And honestly, credit to the Pelicans. I thought they were really aggressive on the defensive end. And Brandon Ingram, I've always been a big fan of his. I wouldn't say the Lakers are regretting making that trade. It was Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram for Anthony Davis because they did win a championship, even though it was in the bubble. They did win a championship with Anthony Davis. But you got to wonder if you're a Lakers fan or the Lakers front office, like, man. And I know Lonzo Ball has obviously had injuries, but Brandon Ingram is a really good basketball player, and he showed that tonight. He was absolutely special tonight. All right, so I wanted to get into a topic, a debate we've been having here at the radio station. So tonight was the first game of the Nuggets group play for the NBA Cup. And I'm just going to be perfectly honest with you. I think the NBA in-season tournament is stupid. Now, I appreciate the thinking behind the NBA's idea for it to drum up interest, especially earlier on in the season when it's, we've got football going on. Football is the biggest thing going this time of year, obviously. So I do get what the league is trying to do. I just disagree with how they're trying to do it. So the problem I have with the in-season tournament is a couple of things. Number one, how it's formatted. Okay. I don't think they should be having this tournament in November. They should be having this tournament starting in the middle of January. And they space out the tournament games. So like the Nuggets had a tournament game tonight, and then their game in Memphis is just a regular season game. They should just have it all together. Just play the tournament like you would any other normal NCAA style tournament where it's all one thing and then it's over. My other problem with how it's set up right now is there's no incentive for the fans to care more than they would for a regular season game. I'm not saying the fans don't care about the games, but do they care more than if it was just a normal regular season game? I mean, I don't. You can tell me if you disagree, but I don't care. It doesn't give me added incentive versus just a regular season game. So what can the league do to add incentives for fans? Now, I heard a lot of people talk about, the players get a big bonus if they win the tournament. I mean, that's great, but I don't care about that as the fan. Do you guys care about that if the players get a $500,000 check if they win the tournament? I personally do not. I'm looking for incentives for the fans to make this tournament more exciting. And one of the ideas I have, and I've talked about this ad nauseum, so if you've heard me say this, forgive me, but I really do believe they need to do something to generate more incentives for the fans to care more. I was having a debate with somebody here at the station, and I'll just say it was Mark Springer, and we were talking about. I was like, Spring, do you like the in-season tournament? He's like, oh yeah, I do. I like it. And I was like, why do you like it? Like, for what reason over just a regular season game? And it's like, well, you win the cup, the players care. I'm like, but nobody cares about the Emirates Cup. I couldn't care less. And he made the case like maybe in 10 years it builds up equity as far as people caring about winning that trophy. I highly doubt that will be the case a decade from now if they keep the format the same. That's my caveat with this. If they keep the format the way it is now, I highly doubt that in 10 years fans will have a more vested interest in their team winning the actual trophy. Like, that's the prize right now, just the Emirates Cup. I mean, the Lakers hung up a banner, for crying out loud, last year for the in-season tournament. How ridiculously stupid is that? Seriously, like, I would feel embarrassed as a fan if my team won the in-season tournament and they hung a banner for this. Now, I'm not trying to poo-poo the in-season tournament. I'm just trying to make it better. Like, again, I really like the idea. I like that the league is trying new things. I'm all for that. I absolutely am. And I know EuroLeague Soccer does in-season tournaments like this. I'm not going to lie, I don't watch a lot of soccer, so I'm not really dialed into specifically how they do it. Maybe if you're on here, you can, and please feel free to comment. I'd love to share that. But my idea to spice up the tournament, I have a couple ideas actually. I think about this all the time because that's just how my brain works, I guess. But my first idea is the winner of the in-season tournament automatically gets the 6th seed in the playoffs, minimum. Okay. So for instance, the Lakers last year, I think they were in the play-in in the playoffs. They wouldn't have had the play-in. They would have had the 6th seed in the West because they won the in-season tournament. And you could say, well, Dan, that's stupid. That means a bad team's getting in, a possible 10 seed or 11 seed is going to get the 6th seed. Well, win the tournament. I mean, that's what gives incentives to the fans. Now, if you win the in-season tournament and you finish with the 5 seed through 2 seed, then you would move up one spot in the playoff standing. So if you finish with the 4 seed and you win the in-season tournament, you get slotted up into the 3 seed. I think that would create more incentives for the fans. That's just kind of one of the ideas I have roaming around in my head. Okay, you can tell me what you think in the comments, but that's just one of the ideas that I thought for the fans would make it more exciting to watch. If that was the case for me personally, I would have a more vested interest in watching these games than I would a regular season game. I'm not saying I'm not interested in watching these games. I'd be watching them regardless because I love basketball. But especially if you're like one of the middling teams, you like fringe playoff teams, you think their fan bases would care about this? That idea? Like, oh man, like we might be the 11 seed this year, but we won the in-season tournament. Like we're in. So that is an idea I had for the in-season tournament. My other idea, and this is probably a little bit less popular, but again, I'm just trying to think along the lines of what would keep the fans interested, more engaged and more interested, and more incentives for the in-season tournament. What if the winner of the in-season tournament was guaranteed at least a lottery pick in the draft the following year? So if you win the in-season tournament and you finish with, like a 3 seed in the West and you're the 24th pick in the draft, you automatically get the 14th pick. Or if you are still a lottery team, you move up a draft pick. If you finish with the 10th pick, you move up to 9 or something along those lines. So my point of bringing this up is just like, it's great that the NBA is trying this, and tonight was the Nuggets' first in-season tournament game. But really, other than the different colored courts, like what's the difference? Why should I care more? So it's just something I like. Again, I like the idea of this tournament. I just don't like how they're executing it right now. So let me know what you think. It's just something I really hope the league takes a look at. They've also talked about, in fact, today, this came out that the NBA is looking at revamping the All-Star game for this year. Basically, what it would be is like a round robin style tournament for the All-Star game. And when I heard that, I was like, okay, so there's going to be 4 games where the players don't try. Like, it's just one of I'm very anti All-Star game. Okay. I'm very anti All-Star game for any sport, if I'm being perfectly honest, because the players don't care. And why should they? And if the players don't care, why would the fans care? But the NBA All-Star game, I'm looking it up here. So Shams writes, the NBA is in serious discussions on a new tournament style format for the upcoming All-Star game in February, consisting of 3 All-Star teams of 8 players each, and the winner of the Rising Stars game. Okay, that part's actually kind of cool. I do like the Rising Stars game because They're not established yet, so they're actually trying. That's why I like it. League officials discussed the new format Friday with the competition committee consisting of governors, team executives, players, coaches, and union personnel, sources said. The 4 teams would face each other in matchups, for instance, team 1 versus team 3, team 2 versus team 4, and the winners move on to the final round of the tournament. Okay, so there's the basic format for what the NBA is considering in the All-Star game. Again, I ask you, what is the incentive? And in this case, not just for the fans, what's the incentive for the players? And you could say, well, I'll throw them some money and maybe that's an incentive. Well, let's be honest. If you're an all-star in the NBA, you're already making so much money. Is a $500,000 check going to really motivate you? I mean, sure, they'd like to have it. I get it. But is a $500,000 check really going to motivate these guys to go out there and play in like it's a playoff game? I mean, even a regular season game. So I'm very, very anti All-Star game. Like I'm not joking. I have watched less than 5 minutes in my entire life of the NFL Pro Bowl. And I know they've revamped that over the years, but I can't stand games where the players aren't trying hard. Now, I will say the NHL's 3-on-3 is pretty fun because there's just so much room out there and those guys are so skilled and they're trying cool stuff. Like that's kind of fun, but did anybody on here watch the All-Star game last year? I mean, it was pathetic to the point where Adam Silver was speaking out about how bad it was. Everybody knew how bad it was. And, obviously that's probably why they're trying to look at making changes. But again, I don't know how much that's going to change the fact that the players just don't try at all in those games. So anyways, that's just kind of what's been roaming around in my head today, specifically with the in-season tournament. That's where I think the league has a real opportunity to make this something special. And I really want to see that. I mean, how many of you on here tonight knew this was an in-season tournament game before you saw the blue court there in New Orleans? I did, just because it's, researching the game. And I did the pregame show and we talked about that with Cause, but just for the average fan out there, how many of you knew that tonight was an NBA Cup in-season tournament game before you turned on your television? I doubt many people knew that. I'm more just ticked off that the Nuggets couldn't get it done tonight. Not that they're their chances in the tournament have dwindled. That's what I'm ticked off about. So anyways, just wanted to throw that out there. Our guy, Daniel. What's up, Daniel Miller? How you doing, buddy? What trade should this team make? It's way too early to tell. I don't like talking about potential needs or trade scenarios for teams until at least January in the NBA, if I'm being quite honest. Feel free, halfway through the season, I'd be happy to answer that question. But right now, it's just way too early, and you don't know who's going to be healthy when. Who knows? Maybe Dario Saric emerges as the answer at the backup 5 for the Nuggets. There hasn't been enough games yet. So all I'm saying is just be patient. Let's not forget, this team after Sunday against the Mavericks looked like the Nuggets of old and looked like legitimate championship contenders. And they didn't have Joker tonight, so it's not shocking that they lost. Now, the Pelicans did have a lot of their guys injured as well, but no AG, no Joker, no Coach Malone. It is what it is. So I just think it's way too early to start looking at trade scenarios. In January, if there's certain areas of need that are obvious, I'd be happy to talk about that. But again, it's just too early for that. But tough loss for the Nuggets tonight. I thought they battled really hard. They kept trying to claw back there in the second half. I mean, they got it to within 6. They got it to within 4. Then they'd give up a 6-0 run. Then they'd claw their way back. Then they'd, turn the ball over. Way too many offensive rebounds given up tonight for Denver. Way too many. In fact, the Nuggets had 5 offensive rebounds tonight. The Pelicans had 17. That's why they lost tonight's game. Plain and simple. That stat right there. They gave up way too many second chance points to the Pelicans tonight. That's what really did them in. So, and the Pelicans absolutely dominated just as far as like the turnover battle goes and all of that. So tough loss for the Nuggets tonight. We will be back coming up on Sunday. That game is on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. Pregame starting at 3:30 on Sunday. I believe, what time do the Broncos play? They're a 2 o'clock game, so that's going to be conflicting with the Broncos. That's going to be a tough one. We'll just watch them both. That's what I'm going to be doing. And tune in for Sunday's post-game show right here on our digital platforms with myself. DMAC may join, our guy KJ tonight as well. KJ was going to hop on the show tonight, but he's unable to. He is producing the Avs game over on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. I've got it on right here. The Avs are down 4-2 with 16 minutes and 1 second to go in the third period. So we'll see if the Avs can complete the comeback that the Nuggets failed to do tonight. But that's going to do it for the post-game show tonight. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Again, we'll be back on Sunday for Nuggets and Grizzlies. That should be a good one. No Ja Morant. So Nuggets, they play Memphis twice in a row in Memphis with no Ja Morant in both of those games. So they have a really good opportunity to take 2 of 3 on this road trip. If they can take 2 of 3, that's a win. So that's going to do it for the post-game show tonight. I'm Dan Tanner. You've been listening to In the Paint right here on Altitude Sports Radio.